So just over 10 years ago, Ford came out with the CD4 chassis Fusion. That was 2013 and newer. Now, up until today, Ford no longer makes cars. In fact, the only car they make is the Mustang. It's been a rash of SUVs and crossovers and trucks. But a lot of people don't know that this 2013 and newer Fusion is actually an awesome platform. And here at Steeda, we embrace that, and we make a ton of go-to performance parts for your 13 and newer Ford Fusion. So in 2020, Ford actually stopped making the Ford Fusion for America. It's now only sent overseas. But there is a ton of these vehicles out there on the road. You're talking about a vehicle that Ford produced a couple 100,000 units of each and every year. So there's a ton of these on the road. Not every one of them has as many miles, but we're gonna show you some of the key components we added to this Ford Fusion that have held up for the last 11 years and over 200,000 miles. So now the Fusion was a very, very popular car for Ford, and it was available in many different trims. You had your basic economy models from a naturally aspirated V6 and hybrid to the 1.6 liter EcoBoost, all the way up to the 2.0 EcoBoost, which makes an additional 80-something foot-pounds of torque. Fast forward to 2017, and they took the Fusion Sport to a whole new level. Twin turbos, 325 horsepower. The car really scooted, especially for a four-door sedan. You had tons of power, great torque because of that EcoBoost, and it was very fuel efficient as well because, well, it's an EcoBoost design motor, so it's going to be super efficient. So this is a 2013 Ford Fusion. It's got the 1.6 liter EcoBoost, and we're approaching 250,000 miles, 222,574 to be exact. So here we are 11 years later. My wife, then girlfriend at the time, Chelsea, purchased this brand new. It was actually used for a ton of developmental work on this CD4 Fusion platform. So like we mentioned, this version is the 1.6 liter. It's the more economical version in the lines of the Fusion market, but the 2.0 is the more sportier version, obviously adding more horsepower and torque. But one of the first things you want to start out with anytime is a cold air intake. Simply put, it's going to allow the motor to breathe better. It's an air pump. Anything we can do to get air in and out of this more efficiently, the more efficient the motor is going to be. The more power, the better fuel economy. So when we developed this cold air intake, we made sure that we designed it to fit the 1.6 and the 2 liter. If you've got the newer 1.5 liter, it actually fits that version as well. What we did was we incorporated a velocity stack, a cold air box that seals really nice to the top of the hood, and a high flow air filter, and it utilizes this front cold air feed right from the factory. You're looking at 10 horsepower on the 1.6 liter and about 18 horsepower on that 2.0 liter version. I tell people all the time, this is one of those mods that's going to pay for itself. We saw an instant 2 mile per gallon increase installing this cold air intake. We've gotten as best as 37 miles per gallon. Right now, it's averaging at 33, and that's still with a car with almost 250,000 miles. So staying underneath the hood, Steeda Strut Tower Brace. It's one of the most beneficial things you can do to any of your automobiles. Not only does it keep the strut towers from flexing and improve handling and ride quality, it also prevents squeaks and rattles that, when you've got an 11-year-old car with that many miles, not developing squeaks and rattles is something that's going to keep you in the driver's seat. I mean, let's face it, there's a reason why performance cars like the Mustang come from the factory with a strut tower brace. Even the Ford Explorer has a strut tower brace on some models from the factory, and it's why at Steeda it'll always be one of the first things we do, make a stronger, lighter strut tower brace for your vehicle. One of the best things about a strut tower brace, not only is it easy to install, you're looking at 4 bolts on this model on each side, but no permanent modifications. You literally can bolt it on, take it off if you're ready to sell the car or whatnot, but no permanent modifications. It really changes a lot of the characteristics of this car for the better. Also, very popular amongst the Fusion crowd is our Steeda hood strut kit. It makes changing the oil, installing a cold air kit, anything you want to do underneath the hood of your car that much easier. Provides a ton more clearance. If you enjoy hot rodding, maybe taking your car to car shows and things like that, hood struts are an absolute must. We dove straight into that Fusion market because why? It was a practical, good-looking car. It was very fuel efficient, and for a four-door family sedan, it really offered a good amount of power at a very, very competitive price. I think this was like $26,000 brand new. Now, my wife Chelsea decided not to go with the lowering springs in her Fusion. They only lower the car about 7/8 of an inch and maintain the factory spring rate until it gets into the progressive range. What that means is it's going to provide optimum riding and handling characteristics. But when you go and throw that car in the corner, it's going to respond very well. Now, she didn't want to lower the car because she didn't want to worry about parking curbs and things like that. So this is a stock ride height. Now, me, I still wanted better handling. So without lowering the car, how can you get better handling? Well, you saw we had the Strut tower brace. The rear sway bar outside of the cold air kit is absolutely my favorite mod for these cars. Why? Because it still rides completely the same. It's gonna handle really well, going over speed bumps and things like that. But as soon as you go to turn the car, you're gonna notice an immediate difference with a Steeda rear sway bar. The Steeda sway bar is over 30% stiffer than factory, so it's going to give you much better handling, but you're not going to sacrifice your ride at all. Once again, simple install, takes about 45 minutes. You could do it with some jack stands in the back of your car, but it really transforms the way these cars handle. Now, speaking of handling and braking, we also have our Fusion stainless steel brake lines. Talk about something that you can notice pulling out of your driveway. Your pedal feel is going to be much greater. Why? Because with factory rubber lines, the rubber lines actually expand when you step on the brake pedal. Add in a set of stainless steel lines and you're going to feel that brake pedal much more. It's going to give you a much better pedal feel when you're driving your car. Get rid of that spongy feel that you get with the OEM rubber lines. Nowadays, like we mentioned, since the only car Ford makes in the United States is the Mustang, that void has kind of been filled by the Ford Explorer. They've got the ST version. It's awesome, really hauls butt, and it gives you a variety of other options. Now you can kind of go off-roading. You can hold more luggage, more cargo with the Ford Explorer than you could with the Ford Fusion. But there are two segments that Steeda put a lot of time, a lot of engineering, and a lot of man hours in. Why? To try to take these platforms to the next level. The same thing we're going to do with any of your Ford vehicles. And it's not just Ford. A lot of the major auto manufacturers have leaned away from sedans and they've moved more into the crossover and SUV type vehicles. With the majority of these Ford Fusions being turbocharged, the idea is you want to have lower intake air temperature. Why? Because cooler air is more dense. Not only can you make more horsepower, but you're going to keep the engine happier with cooler, denser air. Well, with a turbocharger, you're compressing the air, so you're making heat. It's got a factory front mount intercooler, but it leaves a lot to be desired. The Steeda intercooler fits the 1.6 and the 2-liter Fusion. Unfortunately, if you've got a 1.5 liter, that intercooler is built in differently and we do not have a replacement unit available. So the other beauty about the Steeda front mount intercooler is it actually maintains your factory grille shutters. Now this is pretty important because on the 1.6 liters, there's no tuning option, which means there'd be no way to turn off that check engine light. So maintains factory grille shutters, which once again helps your fuel economy and things like that. But with the Steeda intercooler, you're gonna have cooler intake air temps, which means more horsepower, more torque, and let's face it, it's just gonna keep that engine happy. Since the Steeda intercooler is a low pressure drop design, what that means is it's actually gonna allow the turbocharger to work more efficiently. By not having a restriction, it actually allows it to produce more air, maintaining those boost levels. Now the beauty of lower air intake temps is less chance of detonation, right? It's a Fusion. I'm not gonna lie, my wife puts 87 octane in it, which means it's more prone to detonation. Well, cooler air intake temps with the Steeda cold air kit and the Steeda intercooler ensures that you have the lowest possible air intake temps, therefore reducing your chances of detonation, whether you run 87 octane or 93. So that's a quick overview on the parts that we developed and installed on this particular Fusion. When I said we jumped 2 feet in and really put a lot of engineering and man hours into this platform, we did. And as we've shown, they held up over the course of time, and it really just ensures you get the best driving experience out of your vehicle. A lot of times you think the parts only make you go faster and things like that, but things like an intercooler and rear sway bar and strut tower brace, even the cold air intake, those are all things that are going to help the longevity of your vehicle and make sure you get more miles per gallon and more miles per gallon with that cold air kit. So leave a comment below. Let us know what other vehicles you'd like to see us do a review on, or what parts. Hit like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and remember the most important thing at the end of the day, Steeda, where speed matters.